We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
I may not be a millionaire. I may not have a brand new Frigidaire. My clothes ain't all fancy, and my car ain't brand new. But there is joy in my house. I've got joy in my house.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Join My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A reality radio show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one who says it is insignificant.
I'm joined here by my co-host, Lita Robinson.
Hey, how you doing, Joel? Good to see you.
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How'd you recuperate from the Super Bowl?
You know, it was okay. I had an opportunity to watch the whole Super Bowl game
did?
and sit down. My daughter didn't bother me too much. I got an
Okay.
opportunity to actually watch the game in its entirety, including the 35 or 37 minutes of when the lights went out, the
really?
blackout.
Okay, so
But
what
I
did you guys
enjoyed
do?
it.
Just kind of chew and eat a little bit of
Yeah.
good food? Did your
My
mom cook?
sister's fiance cooked up some pork shoulder,
Oh, okay.
and he brought it over. So
That looks
now
like
that
cannibalism. Shoulder.
it was a shoulder. I think in Spanish we call it carnitas.
Okay,
and that's
all
what it
right.
was. And because he's now engaged to my sister, now he came and
Okay, so now
he's
well,
participating.
congratulations to that. I'm glad.
Yeah,
I was
she's
spending my
very
time
happy.
at Costco, taking
That-
my mother around.
you had
know.
mentioned that you were gonna go to
Oh,
Costco.
Man, don't do that. Don't do that on
On Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, but anyway, it's good to see you.
Good
Really
to see you. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad that
Yeah.
we were having some technical difficulties early on, but Van Eric, our producer here, is
Yeah.
very handy, and Rich, who came in and saved the day. We're airing here live at noon here on Joy in My House. We want to thank you for joining us. If you're just getting out of service, we want to thank you for being a part of our Joy in Our House here today. And we want to let you know we had a great show for you today. We've had just amazing guests come on
I'm
the
telling
show.
you, I was thinking about. I know you're going to talk about Pastor Cho last week. It got very emotional. How the
It
Lord is
did.
leading different people's lives is amazing. Like in church, one God, one Spirit, but yet He has such a diversity of people.
That's right. That's right. If you missed last week's show, please feel free to catch the recap. You can find all of our previous episodes on latalklive.com, or you can visit our Facebook page at Facebook.com/joinmyhouse, or you can follow us also on twitter.com/joinmyhouse. And last week we had an amazing guest, one of my black belts from Fullerton, California, when I was teaching out of a studio out there in Amridge, Pastor James Cho.
How did you feel having him on? I mean, just seeing what God had done. Did you know at the time that he was in ministry when he
I didn't
was,
know he was in ministry. I knew he had pastored, but I didn't know how much work he had been doing currently. There's a couple times that I asked him to lead prayer before a testing and things of that nature.
And this is before you even knew the Lord the way you do now?
No, this was already when I was already
Okay.
I was already in church and,
Okay,
and
okay.
yes, already given my life to Christ.
Okay.
But he was so humble and so quiet that I never really thought to approach him.
Right.
And like I mentioned during our prayer time, we talk about unity and being there for one another and having a relationship. And even back then, I was still, even though he was one of my black belts, he was training under me, I still didn't relate to him at that level. And it's very interesting that we tend to seclude ourselves.
Yeah, and very much so. But you know what? But the fact remains that God, how He brings the Spirit up now, He brings things together.
And how he
see,
brought
during
him
that
here.
time, how He brought you two together, that just amazed me.
And now coming on the show and bringing us a part of this family now, how amazing.
And and the thing that also touched me, which all our guests coming in, was that he was so open about the relationship with his father.
I
and
think
how
that's
God
so
had to bring
important.
the healing in and all those types of things. That's important things that even though we're in ministry and even though God is using us, there are still areas in our families that need to be healed. How did you feel about him
And
sharing about his family?
I think that's so important. Like you said, it's very relevant because we talk about the single layer, our actions and what we do. But you always tend to go even deeper than that, Lolita. And I think that's what's great about you, that you're able to touch the emotional part, because there was some emotional healing that he needed, some closure with that. And we always talk about in program, if you don't deal with your issues, they fester and
They sure do.
and they
They
grow.
deal with you.
Resentment. Oh, great. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
they
they say in
do.
program. They
Right.
deal with you. But it seemed he had come to a really good place in his life.
Well, hopefully he'll come back, and hopefully our audience is touched by the people that we have on here.
Because he had a great story. He had he got kidnapped when he was in Thailand on one of his mission trips.
Wow.
How amazing
Yeah.
was that?
Well, hopefully we can have him come back, because I wanted to hear what it was like for his wife and his son. It brought reality. I think sometimes we can play church. I know sometimes I play church. Like we had our missionary from Kenya today at church.
Yes.
And talking about, I forget about that this is a ministry and outreach, and that it's very important what we do here.
And it's so much bigger than just what we see.
That's right.
A lot of times we get stuck on just what we see. Oh,
Right.
our
little world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when that missionary from Kenya comes and shares that,
And
that
Pastor
motorcycle
Yeah.
allowed him to venture out even further.
Right.
Save him time, just amazing how God's plan is so much bigger than our vision could ever be.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what he does with us here.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a great guest by the
I
name of
can't
Anne.
wait.
Anne has written a book called Skin Deep. If you haven't heard her story, you're not going to want to miss it. She's going to come on the show. She is our in-studio guest today. You can find her on Facebook, Anne Hjelle. I believe I pronounced it right. I hope so.
She'll let you know. if
She'll
you
let me
did.
know when she comes on.
He said it,
But
not
she
me.
was on Inside Edition, Larry King. She has a great testimony that she's going to come and share and let us know where we can purchase her book and find out more about her testimony. She also is a speaker and has done quite a few great charity work, worked for great charities, and really goes out there and really promotes the work that God has done in her life. So you want to stay tuned with us. This is Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go to a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Jump up and shout his praises. Everybody sing hallelujah. Turn around and tell your neighbors all the great things God has done for you. The waves are crashing and are praising. The trees are swaying in the breezes. The angels guard your way. Keep your faith, it's a brand new day. Brand new day. All the praises to the Holy One. All the praises to your precious Son, who is like the Lord Almighty, powerful indeed. He points his mighty finger, commands the mountains and the sea. And I will tell of the great things he's done. I'll shout out loud, I am is the one. Jump up and shout his praises. Everybody sing hallelujah. Turn around and tell your neighbor.
Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk.
Do you suffer from degenerative diseases such as high blood pressure, diabetes, fibroid tumors, high cholesterol, genital herpes, or a plethora of other diseases that rob you of a quality life? If so, then visit the website of herbalist Tahuti Ma'atra at dhealthstore.com and open the door to natural healing at an affordable price. dhealthstore.com has over 1,800 products created by herbalist Tahuti Ma'atra, specifically designed to help you heal the natural and safe way. At DHealthStore.com, you'll find everything from herbal formulas and cleanses, such as Tahuti's famous Full Body Detox, as well as herbal teas, extracts, natural body butters, lotions, creams, children's products, hair care products, and of course, sexual enhancement products for both men and women. So visit the website of Tahuti Ma'atra, DHealthStore.com, or call toll free at 1-888-823-9416, DHealthStore.com.
How can I forget you?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Join My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A reality radio show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one who says it is insignificant. And I also want to say hello to Priscilla and Kay, who's a dear friend of mine, and Paul, who's in the house with us today. We don't want to leave anybody out.
Yeah, we have a lot of great support. A lot of great support. I want to welcome our in-studio guest today, Anne Hjelle. I did mispronounce her name, Hjelle, and I've been practicing it all night. Anne Hjelle, I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you for coming on board.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We have a great show for you lined up for you today. Anne is going to come on, is on the show and is going to speak about her new book called Skin Deep. If you don't know her story, if you're out of state, but if you were actually here in Orange County or LA County, you probably heard one of the famous trails in Irvine had a mountain lion, and there was several attacks. And Anne is going to tell her testimony about one of her situations while she was walking on that trail. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for coming on. I know it's not easy coming on and really being transparent. Part of our show, we make an effort to be transparent, and a lot of our guests have touched people because of that.
Right.
You know,
right.
so, and the show is about you. So we really want to hear about you. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about your family of origin. Where'd you grow up, and you know, what got you here to this point?
Well, I grew up in Minneapolis area, suburbs of Minneapolis. I have two brothers. My parents, grew up in a strong Christian home, and I ended up kind of straying from that path when I was in high school, and after I graduated from high school, ended up deciding not to go to college right away, got a job, but basically a lot of partying and getting into all sorts of mischief. I was basically ran out of money, and I was forced to move back home, and was really butting heads with my parents because of the lifestyle I was living at the time. And I one day went down to the local Marine recruiter station and ended up, after speaking with him for a half hour, the recruiter, I signed up for 4 years in the Marines. So that's actually how I came to California, though, is that I was
Marine.
stationed. Yeah.
Oh, gosh, and you were just beautiful. I mean, you don't look like a Marine, but what does a Marine look like? That's awesome.
Exactly. There's lots of beautiful Marines.
That's right.
But
Wow.
I think as far as Marine Corps, 6% of the Marine Corps is women, so we're definitely in the minority. But
Wow.
I was stationed right here in Tustin, California for my whole time. So
Wow.
What did your parents think of that?
I think at first they were absolutely shocked. It came out of nowhere. Even for me, I'd never had any intention of doing that. And friends from high school, I think, are completely shocked that that was the path I took. But at the time, I do believe it was the best thing for me. It kind of gave me a kick in the rear.
Oh, I bet. I bet the partying stopped then.
Well, actually, it continued.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, for
We
the
had
first
somebody
couple of
else
years.
here talking about the Van Eric's shaking his head.
I liken
Yeah.
it to going to college, but you don't have to show up for class. Is kind of the lifestyle. You're living in the barracks, and you have a job that you're doing, but it's just a party atmosphere.
And I can
definitely.
associate with that because I know when I trained with my master and living with him at the studio for a couple of years, I felt the same way. We worked hard, so we felt we can party hard, and that kind of was our lifestyle. On a daily basis, at least 6-7 days a week, we'd go out and drink, and it was so dysfunctional.
Right.
What about the boot camp situation, though? You think as a Marine? My brother was a Marine.
Okay.
Yeah, in San Diego, and
yeah.
it turned him around. He was really heavy, but he used to write me letters and just said it was rough. So what about boot camp?
My mom kept all of the letters that I wrote to her, and I was just excited to be there. I mean, it's almost comical to read them because I'd say,
How
we're going to the
interesting.
rifle range this week. We're doing the gas chamber. Everything was new and exciting. I mean, I loved it all, to be honest. And when I actually enlisted, I was a pack-a-day smoker. I was a partier.
Wow.
So I cracked down and I got in shape before I went to boot camp. And
Yeah,
I
you
was very
graduated.
driven to try to
Good
do
for
well.
you.
And so, like I said, I think
Good
it was
for you.
very good for me at the time.
Sounds like it. You stayed the whole 4 years?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's
And they
pretty
got you in
awesome.
Tustin.
Right.
And when did you meet? I just want to give a shout out to your husband, James Martin, because I know he's been a big supporter of you and doing the things that you do. And I think it's important that we mention, James, if you're out there listening, we want to thank you. I mean, obviously, that support is sometimes what gets us through. So I did
Definitely.
want to mention that. When did you meet him? And let's talk about your relationship and your marriage.
Okay. Well, after I got out of the Marine Corps, I did move back to Minneapolis for a couple of years and enrolled in college. But as soon as I got back there, I thought there is no way I can live here after
Oh.
living in Southern California.
Yeah,
no
really.
way.
I mean,
So
I'm telling
Night
you,
and
yeah.
day. Night
yeah,
and day.
so I
Yeah.
moved back out to Irvine, just within a couple miles of the base, the area I knew. And within, I think it was 8 months after moving back to Southern California, I went to a local mountain bike event. It was actually in Julian, California, San Diego. And that was where I met James. And actually, we didn't talk that weekend at all, but that was the first connection.
Well,
And
how did you get into mountain bikes?
I actually got into mountain biking when I was in the Marines.
Okay.
And just some friends who I worked with were into it and kind of dabbled in it, but I really didn't get, in completely until I moved back. And
Okay.
that was really my passion and James' passion as well. So we shared that. But
Well, I must say you are very adventurous. And
Yeah,
you're willing
really.
to also not just adventurous where it's crazy adventurous. You also prepare because you said you prepared to go into the Marines. I'm pretty sure
Right.
when you take up a hobby, you also prepare regarding mountain biking. Because I've been interested in mountain biking.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't feel like I'm not prepared. I can't just go in there and get a mountain bike and
Yeah.
start.
How did my mountain biking come up with the Marines?
Well, I was not prepared the first time I went riding. How it
Okay.
came up was a friend who I worked with. Honestly, my job in the Marine Corps
I was going to ask you that. What were
Okay.
you trained for?
I was trained as a hydraulics mechanic on
Oh, my-
CH-53s, which are the
You talk about don't judge your book by its cover. You look like a model and just, oh my
I
goodness.
actually chose that
That's
job.
awesome.
It sounded like, hey, that's something different.
Seems interesting,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, how
And actually, the
neat.
Good for
job
you.
was great. I really did enjoy that. But needless to say, these huge helicopters are parked out on the flight line. So when you go to work on them, a lot of people ride bikes to get to the aircraft
I
because
see.
it's to carry stuff out there and you're just going to check one thing. It's kind of a pain. So everyone gets bikes. Well, a guy who I worked with, he would ride a wheelie from the shop, ride the wheelie all the way to the aircraft and come on back. And I was just like, wow,
Oh,
that's
now I want to do this.
yeah. And so he was into mountain biking and he was the one who encouraged me, hey, you should give this a shot.
So when you got out of the Marines, you were going to work on helicopters or mechanical type of
Even
pursuits,
though
or-
I enjoyed doing that, I mean, really, by the time I got done with the 4 years, I wanted a job where I could wear normal clothes, that I could go grocery shopping after I got off work. Like you think
Yep.
about, I was filthy, hydraulic fluid, grease, where I would have to go home and scrub. It's not like you could go and meet friends after work.
No,
I
you'd
just
have to go
wanted like
to
a normal job. So
Wow,
You went
that's
to the two
interesting.
extremes. How funny. You went straight to the Marines and you wanted to get your
Oh,
hands dirty,
that's
and then
awesome.
you come out and you want
Yeah.
to be a little more feminine.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, hey,
So let us
girls.
know what happened after the Marine Corps. You get out.
And you met James.
I met James. He actually proposed to me 5 weeks after we met.
Are you
Wow.
serious?
I'm serious.
Oh, what a sister! I got married a month after meeting my husband. I haven't met too many people who do that.
Yeah. And at first I was thinking,
Wow.
I don't know about this guy,
He knew,
but
huh?
he knew.
Was he a Christian or what was the Lord? in this, or-
He was really seeking at the time. When I met him, one of the things that impressed me was that he would have these really deep philosophy books and he'd be off in the corner, a bunch of rowdy mountain bikers. He'd be off in the corner reading these books and circling, like if there was a word he didn't know, he'd circle it and go and look it up later. I mean, very driven.
really,
I could
really
see,
driven.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I could see a lot of character traits in him that I saw in my dad, kind of this like an entrepreneur, just a go-getter, very driven. So I think that those were a lot of the things that really attracted me to him.
Well,
But,
where were you with the Lord at this point?
2 years into my time in the Marine Corps was when I connected with, it's actually a friend from back home. Her aunt lived near the base. My friend had come out. We hung out as a group. My friend went back to Minnesota, and I actually continued hanging out with the aunt. I had no car, so what she would do, her name is Lynette, she would come and pick me up at the base on Friday afternoon, and I would stay with her family for the weekend. She would invite me to church, and I mean, it was so great because I was getting away from the barracks and that whole lifestyle and being kind of reintegrated into this family. Yeah, and so that was actually when I rededicated my life to Christ, and
Like going to her church.
Yeah.
She would take you on Sundays before taking you back to the barracks.
Right,
Oh,
exactly.
that's awesome
Yeah.
how God did that.
We always talk about the people that got places in our lives,
Yeah.
and in certain times.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
you know, as we look back in retrospect, we're like, God had that
Oh,
ordained.
no
You know,
doubt.
That
Yeah, he
person
did.
was there.
No doubt about that.
And this is why you were dating James?
No,
Oh.
actually, this was
Okay.
a couple years before
So
I
you
met
had already
James.
rededicated your life to
Right.
Christ.
Right.
And then James was seeking when you
Right.
met him. Okay.
One thing that was interesting when I did rededicate my life to Christ was that I was actually at a squadron. I was transferred to a new squadron right around that time. So at that time, the people who met me at the new squadron, this was all they knew. They knew me as a Christian. They knew me that I didn't drink, that, so,
Oh, wow.
so it allowed for me to be able to make that transition much more easily, because the old squadron, I swore like a sailor. I partied hard. That was how I was known. So, that it kind of gave me a break, to be able
So God
to
to work on you during that
Right.
time period.
Mhm.
So would you say your transformation was a gradual one? Did the Lord take the partying away immediately, or was it?
I would
after-
say it was pretty dramatic.
Okay.
Yeah. Partly because, like I said, I had grown up in a Christian home. I knew that whole time, you're not on the right path. There's no question. So it's kind of like you're just back to where you should have
That's
been in
what
the
you
first
said.
place.
You came back.
Yeah.
You came back to
You
the
come
Lord.
back, right? Right.
And I think it's important that the stronger foundation you have, even if you veer off, it doesn't take you as long.
Right.
You
I
know,
think so. Yeah.
I think that at least it was for me. You know, raised Catholic, it took me a while longer to really have a deep relationship with the Lord. And Lolita was the one that actually led me to the Lord, and that's how I got. And she has been mentoring me and directing me, and to this day,
To God be the glory. Damn. Well, he's the son that'll listen. I have 3 sons, and I don't have. Isn't that funny how God will use outside like this lady?
Lynette. Yeah.
My sons, they know the Lord, they're serving him, but they don't take my direction as well as Joel does.
I make an effort because you know what?
Go figure.
Well, the truth is,
yeah.
she is an example. She says what she does what she says, and that's very important for me. When I look at somebody, especially having many mentors in my life, like Paul, who's here today, I wanna see that what they're doing is working.
Right.
And but I believe that's not having a lot of faith. I think the faith has to be in Christ, something that I don't see. I know he's there, but when I see people, and like my master, he is very, very strict, very structured, but then he lived 2 separate lives. So how do you follow that?
Right.
It's very difficult. You get confused. And with the mentors I have in my life now, they do what they say.
Right.
And it allows me to have a lot of faith in when they tell me to do something.
Well,
Sometimes
I think,
to listen, I think it's important.
Right.
mothers and fathers do. I'm sure your mother lived an upstanding life, and my sons see me as you do, but it's just easier, I think, to receive from.
I agree.
Like Jesus said, prophet is without honor except for in his own home.
Right.
Not calling ourselves prophets, but
I agree.
God
with
used
that.
this woman for you.
Right.
Yeah, like I just mentioned,
so-
God placed Lolita at the right time for what I needed at that time.
Right.
He knows.
God placed Paul at the right time with what I needed at that time. So God was working in your life. I mean,
The whole time.
From the beginning.
Right.
The beginning.
Right. Right.
Well, you met your husband, and I want to go into the attack, because I know this is it's a big part of your testimony,
Right.
especially in your book. Obviously, you're outdoorsy. You like adventure. So tell us about what got you in hiking in Irvine, and then lead into the
You were riding the mountain bike, right? You weren't walking.
Right.
That's right.
Oh, mountain biking.
I remember seeing that on the news. Yeah, you were. I remember this story very well.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I'm not just saying this. You are absolutely beautiful. When I first
Thank
saw you,
you.
I thought, oh my gosh, You
I have
really
a good
are.
surgeon.
Well, you know what? Well, no, to God be the glory.
Right.
Really.
Right.
So,
But let's go into it. So tell us, before that day,
hmm
you wake up, you're gonna go. Do you do this normally on a regular basis?
Yes.
All right, let's go into
Okay.
that.
So at this point, James and I had been married for about 3 years. He had a martial arts studio at the time.
Oh.
I would ride regularly with groups of girls, but one in particular, her name is Debbie. That day, I called Debbie. I said, "Do you want to go for a bike ride?" She said, "Sure." So we agreed to meet that afternoon. It was somewhere around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So this is January 8th of 2004. So I met her at an area called Whiting Ranch. It's actually in Foothill Ranch, Wilderness Park.
That's above in Irvine.
It's basically south of Irvine and inland a little bit more towards the mountains.
Okay.
But I met her that afternoon. We started our ride. Everything was just normal. Got to a point where after you climb this one long hill, there's a kind of a rest spot. We chatted for a couple of minutes. We were just about to get ready to go on the downhill portion of the ride when I saw 2 guys take off from that area and take off down the same trail that Debbie and I were about to go down.
You mean like fear?
I'm sorry?
They were just riding, or were they running?
They were riding as well.
Okay, so
yeah.
okay, I thought maybe they saw something. They were running out of fear.
Oh, no.
Okay,
They
so-
were just getting ready to go down the same, like after their rest, they were ready to go. And
Okay.
I just happened to see these 2 guys take off. And I said to Debbie, "Are you ready to go?" And
Okay.
we're both kind of competitive, we don't mess around. Some people like to go ride and chat and talk.
For leisure, you did it more.
We're kind of like,
that's what you're saying. Go get her.
get fast, just
Right.
to get better and that type of thing. So when I saw that you guys take off down the trail, I thought, oh, let's see if we can go, catch
Catch
them.
'em.
Like this is
Oh,
my
okay,
home trail,
okay, Okay, so that's what was going on.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
This is
what
my
was
home
going
trail.
on.
I like
Yeah,
that attitude.
But so we followed down the same trail, came around a blind corner, and I saw a man standing in the middle of the trail with 2 bikes. So he's straddling his own bike, and then there's another bike. And I slowed down, kind of grabbed the brakes to slow down so I wouldn't hit him. And I said, "Is everything okay?" He said, "I found this abandoned bike." And my thought was, he's joking around. This is the 2 guys I
That
just
you saw go down.
and one of them's taking a bathroom break. That was honestly what I thought.
Wait a minute. Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding.
Oh,
So,
go ahead.
and part of it was, as a woman in that sport, it
Right.
happens a lot.
Right.
Guys will try to make small talk with you.
Okay,
Just,
trying to hit on
a
you, yeah.
girl who rides. Oh,
Right,
let's
right.
try talking to her.
Okay.
So that's what I thought. It was just, he was joking around. So I ended up letting off the brakes and continuing down the trail. Debbie was right behind me, continued down the trail as well. About a minute and a half later, we had picked up speed again. I crested a little plateau, and I saw a flash of movement over my right shoulder. All I could tell was that it was a fur, like reddish brown fur. So my first thought was that I had just startled a deer, and that it was going to bound across the trail and maybe hit me
Right.
in the process. We see deer out there all the time, and I've had near misses before where they'll just bound across the trail in front of you. Well, then I felt like I just got hit by a Mack truck, and the animal has a hold of me. I can feel it
Oh,
grabbing me. So I'm
boy.
thinking immediately, this is a mountain lion. There's nothing else out here that can do that.
It pounced on you that fast.
It pounced on me and took me to the ground and basically grabbed a hold of the back of my neck.
Wow.
So the way mountain
Yeah.
lions attack, they typically will attack an animal much larger than themselves. So like the one that attacked me is capable of taking down an 800-pound bull elk.
That is amazing.
So the way they do that is when they bite down on the back of the neck, they actually sever the spinal cord so that the animal then is paralyzed, so that they can kill it.
and
right?
that's why it bit down the back of your
Right.
neck. Its goal was to paralyze
Right.
you.
They always ambush. I mean, that's how they typically kill. They ambush from behind and sever the spinal cord. So
Did the helmet
the helmet got in the
protect
way
you?
a little bit. I have the helmet, and there's some little bite marks in it. It definitely got in the way, but I had some pretty severe wounds to the back of my neck from the lion biting
what
down.
were you thinking at that time?
I'm thinking, this is a mountain lion. I'm gonna die. I mean, that his power was so completely overwhelming. Yeah.
I can
And
only imagine.
Debbie, I knew she's coming down the trail, but we are no match for him. And so I said, Jesus, help me. And it was, what else do you do? And I tried to punch with my fist punch over my shoulder to try to hit him in the head. And, if I was hitting him, I was hitting something, but it wasn't doing any good whatsoever. So essentially what happened was he would readjust his grip. So he went from the back of my neck to the side of my, like just over my ear. He closed down, separated my ear from my skull. So every time he would readjust, he would drag me. He was actually dragging me off of the trail down into a ravine through the brush.
Were you frightened during that time? Or was the adrenaline going?
The adrenaline's going. Other than trying to punch at him, I was so completely overpowered that, I just, it's hard to explain. It wasn't as though I was giving up. There's just
But you feel that helplessness.
It was completely helpless. And I was aware of the fact that Debbie was there.
So that was in the forefront of your thoughts then. Because that's very interesting. That Debbie was on her way.
Well, I could actually see her. What happened was she came down the trail at that time. The lion was on top of me. She saw that he was, had a hold of me. She got off her bike, tried to throw it at the lion, but it got caught up in the bushes. So she could see that he was dragging me quickly down into the ravine, that he's basically going to get away with me. So she lunged and grabbed for my left calf, and a tug of war ensued. So
is this incredible? This is this is just
it was pretty unbelievable. Honestly, I just kept thinking, is this really happening? I kept saying, this is,
it seems probably also surreal.
Were you in a lot of pain? Were you in a lot of
not
pain?
necessarily. It was just this feeling of being completely overpowered.
Right.
And so that tug of war ensued, and the lion is pulling me by the head, and Debbie's pulling me by the foot, and just battling to try to keep him from getting away with me. He was able to
lunged at her.
He could have, and he didn't. That's one thing that I think is interesting. Well, that he was so, as Debbie said, he was so focused completely on me that he
one track mind. You are.
That is it. That's his prey. He doesn't care what else is going on. Like, that's his mission. And so he readjusted again, bit down onto the left side of my face. And as he closed down, I could feel my face tear away. So essentially, my whole cheek was detached and hanging just at my nose like this. And in that moment, I thought, just for a split second, I want to die. I knew he just ripped my face off. There's no way. I can't live with that. And then my next thought,
presence of the Lord at all?
Well, my next thought was of my husband, and I thought, he would want me to fight. I need to fight. That just immediately that thought was gone, and wanting to fight. And then I had a sense that he was going to try to grab me by the front of the throat. I realized he's moving around me, to try to get at me. So one of the things, I had taken a martial arts class from James when we were dating and early on in the marriage. And one of the things they teach you, if you are being choked from behind, to close your chin to the shoulder to try to protect your neck.
You had the presence of mind to do all this.
Well, I tried, but the lion was too fast, and he grabbed me right at the front of the throat.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. I cannot absolutely believe what I am hearing and what I am seeing here.
Yeah. He closed down, and it was absolutely like a vice grip. I knew right away, this is it. My life is over. I could feel, things are going black. And so I said goodbye to Debbie. I said, I'm going to die. And she, she's still hanging on to my calf, and she said, I'm never going to let you go. And we're having this conversation, and then I blacked out. So.
Oh.
Wow. Do you know about how long that lasted for?
If I took a wild guess, I would say a few minutes at the most. It was very fast.
It goes quick, but when you look at it in real time, it's 2 minutes feels like an eternity.
This is amazing. This is amazing to me.
Yeah. One thing that was interesting to me is the fact that even in the midst of this, I had these distinctive trains of thought where it is happening so fast, but when I think of the number of thoughts I had during the attack, it seems like it wouldn't even fit into an hour.
Would you say like your life was flashing before you?
No, because right before I blacked out, I was thinking, okay, I should be seeing the tunnel of light, my life flashing before my eyes.
None of
Nothing
that.
is happening. This is very anticlimactic. That's what I thought. I mean,
well, God
come
wasn't.
on.
He
Yeah, it
wasn't
wasn't
taking
your
you
time.
anywhere. He
That
wasn't
was
taking you
not
anywhere.
your time.
But you had a whole bunch of thoughts. I bet was it about your family, about
Well, what
you
happened
missed out on, or
right before I blacked out, where I really did think that was the end of my life, I did have just this, I think, like almost like a strange peace, like complete peace.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, where, I always tell people it's not like I was giving in, like, oh, it's not like that, but it was just
You had
a
some
moment where
serenity.
there was no fear. It was
God
just,
had to give you something during that time. So you had the peace before you blacked out.
yeah, right before it just was like everything just kind of melted away.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us,
About
how
you
did
can take
how did the attack end? What did Debbie end up doing?
What happened was,
Which you found out later, because obviously when you
Yeah.
woke up, you were in the hospital.
well, when I woke up, I was on the, I
On
mean,
the, on the
basically,
gurney.
no,
You
I
was-
woke up and I was there laying in the bushes.
Oh, wow.
And,
I thought maybe that
I thought
the ambulance
ahead.
people
Oh.
came. So
No, I woke up and I'm lying flat on my back in the same spot, and Debbie is there, and I feel like I'm drowning. I mean, I feel as though, like, if you went underwater in a pool and accidentally
You're
took a big breath,
suffocating, yeah.
all the
like
blood.
just liquid. And then I realized, that I was basically choking on my own blood. So Debbie could see that I was struggling. She helped me to sit up. We were thinking if we could kind of clear my airway a little bit. So once she got me to sit up, I could get little bits of air, and I just concentrated. Okay, calm down. Try to keep your breathing
What peace
slow.
of mind.
Well, partly, I guess I'm a personal trainer. I'm an athlete. You talk about breath control for sports.
Yes,
it's
that's
all
so
that
But
stuff
important.
who
kicking
knew
in.
all the stuff of your personality, all the things that your personality had, the fight,
Yeah.
the jobs that you took,
Right.
was all, would you say, was
Right.
preparation for this?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. When I look back, I'm thinking all of that was preparation for this. Absolutely.
Your tenacity, your strong will, the fight that you had,
Yeah.
it all. I hate to think that God, I know God doesn't do these things,
Right.
but we never know what He's training us and preparing us for.
Right.
So you can see that now in looking back.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the battle of my life. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you were a
So-
fighter. You were a
Well,
fighter.
I kind of think
And Debbie,
just-
God bless Debbie.
Yes.
Debbie,
Oh.
honestly, I asked myself, would I have done what she did?
What did
I
she
don't
do?
know.
How'd she get him off you?
Well, okay, so we need to backtrack a little bit. So what had happened, Debbie was trying to carry me up to the trail. Another mountain biker came down, helped to carry me up to the trail. They propped me up against the berm. And, then I realized, I look around and there's other mountain bikers who are holding softball-sized rocks. And I'm thinking, what in the world are they doing? Well, that was what happened. They heard Debbie screaming. They rode down to where we were. And what happened was Debbie said, come down and help me. I mean, her grip was slipping. She was praying just for strength to hang on. She knew if that slips, it's over. He's gone with me. And so she said, come down and help me. Well, they were basically frozen in fear as I understand it. And she said, do something, throw rocks. They picked up these softball-sized rocks, started throwing them at the lion. One of the guys said he was worried at first about hurting me. But I mean, at that point,
hey, go
yeah.
for it.
And in fact, one of the other guys had said that all he could see was the lion. My head was completely engulfed in his jaws and my body was limp. I mean, that's that's the picture. So no matter what happened, I don't, blame anyone for all. I'm thankful. I'm
That they
here.
threw those
Everything worked
rocks.
out, so, and like I said, I can't say that I would have done what Debbie did, what the guys did. I mean, it's terrifying. So they threw rocks at the lion. The lion was hit with 3 rocks. And the last rock hit him in the head and he let go. And that was when I came to.
Wow.
So I didn't even know where
And-
the lion had gone, but all I knew was he doesn't have a hold of me anymore. So,
Now, had this line attacked before in that area?
well, what happened was,
And what about the
I'll,
bike rider that was the missing bike? I
yeah,
didn't
I'll
forget
skip ahead a
that.
little bit, but basically, 911 call, paramedics arrived. They started to hike me out. Then they found out they could actually airlift me out. The helicopter came down. They
I
stayed
remember
on the side.
watching it. I remember watching it on the news. I
Yeah,
remember the story very, very clearly.
it was big news. But as they were airlifting me out, they thought they may have spotted another body on the ground, and they sent the sheriff's deputies to go check it out,
Wow.
and the firefighters. And that was when they found his name was Mark Reynolds. So the bike I had passed was his bike, and he had been attacked anywhere from a few hours before to maybe even the night before by the same line. Yeah.
Mark Reynolds.
So that's
Yeah.
the okay. So he wasn't one of the guys that was
No.
riding, but the guy they found the bike that was abandoned.
Right.
That was Mark's.
Yep. Exactly.
I do want to get later on. I want to talk about Mark
Yeah.
and his foundation
Yeah.
and now how you're a part of it. But I wanted to go now after this. I gotta say horrendous just attack.
Mm-hmm.
How was the recovery process for you?
Well, and that's kind of what the book is about. I had a lot of people right after the attack happened, oh, I'll help you write a book. But in my mind, that's not the story. The story, yeah, the attack is
That's not the
sensational,
story.
sensational
That's
story.
Not the story.
but it's not the story.
Loss, the grief.
Yeah, I knew that the years to come were going to be where the real challenge lay. But so the attack happened in January. My first reconstructive surgery was in August. There was a period from that point, early August, 9 weeks, I had 4 surgeries. I've had a total of 5 facial surgeries, 6 surgeries in total, reconstructions. My first surgery that night in the hospital was 6.5 hours, 200 stitches and staples to piece me back together again. So it was a roller coaster ride. After the first reconstructive surgery in August, I just didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. And
Your whole life was turned up. You're talking about being violated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, your whole life must have been just turned upside down.
yeah, it was
Were
it
you
was a
mad
wild
at the
ride.
Lord? Were you
Not at all. And I never asked, why did this happen to me?
That was my next question.
No.
How was your faith? Do you feel stronger? Did you feel weaker? That's so interesting to me.
For years, when people would ask me, how did it change you? I would say it didn't. And in my mind, that was a good thing. I think, yeah, now I would say, yeah, I see changes. But that was something where, I was so thankful that I could do all of the things I used to do. I could get back to mountain biking.
you didn't have a fear to go back?
Oh, I had fear. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay.
But in
But
my
that didn't
mind,
stop you.
in my mind, I felt as though either, for example, if I didn't go back to mountain biking, I didn't return to the trail, all of those things, I'm allowing fear to conquer me. And I felt like I need to make a distinct effort to take control of the fear so that doesn't happen. That was how I felt about it, that I kind of had this mental checklist. These are the things I feel I need to do to make sure that I don't feel like this, ruined my life or
And you said
changed
you
me
weren't
negatively.
angry with the Lord during that time. Did you
No.
feel closer to Him, or
I mean, in my
when you were
mind,
in
I was an
hospital?
absolute miracle.
Oh,
The
you-
fact that I survived that.
Yeah.
There was no question in my mind that, especially because I didn't learn until the next morning that Mark had died. When you look at this very high level athlete, an adult male who died being attacked by the same mountain lion, to me, that makes it more of a miracle that I survived.
It is.
know?
What a miracle. What a miracle. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I want to hear about your recovery and how Oprah, Inside Edition, Larry King all wanted you on their show to talk about this. But like you said, that wasn't the real story.
yeah,
Ladies
what
and gentlemen,
you got out of this?
stay tuned. We're joined here by Hjelle and my co-host Lolita Robinson. Stay tuned with Joy in My House. We'll be right back.
Can't sleep, my mind's been racing, 'cause my stocks have taken a dive. No doubt the landlord's waiting, can pay my rent again this month. There has been war debating, missile attacks are awaiting. There's been so many changes. Whoa,
and fastest refunds on the planet, guaranteed. One call to First Quality Tax Service does it. First Quality Tax Service is committed to their model of triple protection, worry-free, peace of mind accuracy guaranteed. In these difficult economic times, First Quality Tax Service has created options to help you avoid the upfront cost of their service, which means no out-of-pocket expense for you, assisting in personal and business tax preparation. Call 310-677-1047. That's 310-677-1047. Or stop by 1401 North La Brea Avenue on the corner of 64th Place and La Brea.
Are you ready to enjoy the Maui lifestyle? You can have it all by owning real estate on the Paradise Island of Maui. Dennis Rush, a 22-year Maui resident and real estate broker, brings his wealth of experience and market knowledge to add value to your Maui real estate understanding, providing a level of service as unique and exceptional as the island of Maui itself. The magical island of Maui was voted the most exclusive resort island in the world by Condé Nast Traveler, and keep in mind, Maui is only a simple, non-stop flight away. Hawaii Business Magazine Top 100 Realtors awarded Dennis Rush the 2011 fourth top realtor on the island of Maui. Go to www.dennisrush.com to view all of the amazing properties currently available in the Maui MLS system. Whatever your needs or desires, Dennis Rush will provide a private consultation for any Maui properties your heart desires. You will be in good hands. Once again, go to www.dennisrush.com. That's www.dennisrush.com. Contact Dennis today to start your Maui lifestyle now. Dennis Rush, proud sponsors of the Dawn Christie Show and LA Talk Live.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Join My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. We're joined here by my co-host Lolita Robinson and our in-studio guest Anne Hjelle, author of Skin Deep. I want to thank you for coming on the show and just sharing your story. If you missed it, please catch the recap on www.latalklive.com. And also, if you're streaming us or just listening to us and you want to view us and stream us live, you can find us on ustream.tv/LATalkLive. Or you can just find us on Facebook /Join My House for all information of studio guests and lineups. And I want to get back to you. And during this recovery process, I understand that you got approached by Oprah.
Actually, the attack happened on Thursday. By Friday morning, our voicemails were packed
with the media.
Wow.
Oprah.
Wow.
Good Morning America. I mean, all of the shows. I just couldn't understand what the big deal was, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
are you kidding?
No,
you can
I'm
see
not
it now,
kidding.
right? Now, and looking back, you can see what the big deal is, right?
I guess so. I was surprised that it became. I could understand within our area, Orange County. I get that.
No.
But how it spread, I could not understand that.
Oh.
But I think it shows the person that you are.
Yeah.
And I think people are interested.
What about your husband and your parents? What were they going through during this time?
Well, my parents still live in the Minneapolis area, and they flew out right away. One of the things that happened was Friday afternoon, I should say, my doctor came in and said he was going to take the bandages off my face. I knew my parents were scheduled to arrive within a couple of hours. And so after I got a look at what was under the bandages, I asked if he could put some of them back on for their sake, because I just thought, I can only imagine what is going through their heads with learning
with the
news.
Media and
Yeah. And so I just thought I wanted to let them see that I'm okay before they see the damage.
Happened, right? And your husband.
And how was your husband, James Poindexter? I know he's been very supportive since I met him, but Lolita wanted to ask.
Yeah, from day one. And the thing is,
when did he come to know Christ? We left that out. Did he?
Yeah,
because he was, I like to tie stuff in.
After we met, yeah, but I'm trying to think.
Because he was in philosophy, you said he was
Yeah,
really seeking.
Right, because before we started dating, we had gone to Big Bear for a mountain bike race. The women were racing in the morning, men were racing later, or something like that. I did my race, and then I came back to the cabin that a big, huge group of us, we had rented a cabin, and I asked him, hey, I'm going to go to church. Do you want to go to church with me? And that was where he accepted Christ.
He gave his heart
Yeah.
to the Lord. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sure during this time he was praying, and I know we're going to move on, but I just wanted to.
But just like we said earlier in the show, God places certain people in certain times in their lives.
Right.
And God placed you in his life
and vice versa.
Vice versa, but yes. And look at your story now. And I got to imagine that his faith is now even much stronger with something like this.
Yeah. And the thing is, when this happened, laying in the hospital bed, never once did I worry that he would not stick by me. I mean,
a woman could think that with your face.
Yeah, but I know him as a person. I know he's extremely loyal. So that was one thing I never felt like I had to worry about.
And that's got to be very comforting through your recovery, having that foundation.
Definitely.
That
yes.
must have been very scary for him. And Mark, I don't know you, but my hat goes off to you and what you went through. And that your wife thank you for sharing her with us today.
Thank you.
Well, I did want to ask you, like I said.
Yeah, what happened with Oprah, huh?
Oprah comes, and obviously, who doesn't want to do Oprah? Well, I met somebody today who doesn't want to do Oprah. So tell us about that. Why did you say no to her?
Well, one won't say didn't want to do Oprah, but just that look. Well, you gonna guess?
But we chose not to. Just a little bit of background. My husband and I now have been married for 12 years. We haven't had a TV for 12 years. So we had not had a TV for several years.
You didn't know who anybody was.
Honestly, a lot of people we did not. They're talking about Diane Sawyer. And I'm like, which one is she? I don't know. So to be honest,
Good and I'm honored she came here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, what a blessing that you're here in our show.
Yeah.
You really.
Thank you.
We just want to thank
you. My pleasure.
You.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. But the story with the Oprah thing, what happened was that the day of the attack, there were 5 mountain bikers who came to my rescue, other than Debbie, 5 men. That night, the media kind of picked up on 2. So 2 of them were had been interviewed. They did a couple shows. The other 3 were not
asked
really right.
And Debbie.
And Debbie, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, right. But what happened was Oprah then had asked Debbie and me and 2 of the guys to be on the show. And I said, it's all or nothing. Either you're going to have all 5 guys come or we're not going to come.
Oh. Wow.
Because I felt like it was important for us to stay together as a group and not have it be you did this, you did that. Who cares? Mm-hmm. I am so thankful for the role everyone played. I think all of them are extremely brave.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here I'm here to tell the tale because of them. So that was important to me, to be able to.
What's the big deal? So to have the other 2, so it's just going to be 3, not all 4 of the guys, or how many, 5 of them?
They had invited 2 of the guys, but there were 3 more.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it ended up being scheduling issue then to get the other 3. It was too problematic, so we just opted out.
But you eventually did do a couple of shows.
That's an honor, though.
Yeah, that says something about your character.
How long after the attack did you go and start doing the media?
My first interview was in May, so the attack was January. First interview in May. Hadn't had any reconstruction by that time, just the initial surgery. So that was still very overwhelming for me. Mm-hmm. But
were people staring at you? Did you feel people looking at you, or?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it made me much more aware of how I'm treating other people. Mm-hmm. For example, one thing I talk about in the book was, say if I would see someone in a wheelchair, that I would think I'm doing them a favor by not staring at them,
acknowledging them, right?
That I would divert my eyes because I don't want them to feel like I'm looking at them because they're different. But really, now that I was on the receiving end, I realized it's making you feel like you're invisible.
Oh,
so
that's a good point.
I want to talk about this. Your book.
Okay.
So now you've written a book called Skin Deep. Now, before we go on any further, where can we find the book? Because your story is already amazing. This is all in the book.
Yeah.
Tell us where we can find your book.
On Amazon.com. And the easiest way is to actually search by my name because there's several book titles, Skin Deep. But it's a short ebook. And even though it's a Kindle book, you can actually download free reading apps from Amazon onto your PC, iPad, any smartphone to be able to read it. So
the book is under Ann Hjelle, called Skin Deep on Amazon.com, and even the Kindle edition, like she was saying, if you're out there, go check it out. Go download it. You can download it to any of your mobile devices. So please come out and support. You also have a Facebook page. What's the Facebook page name?
It's just my name.
Ann Hjelle on
She wants to
Facebook.
talk about the foundation.
So we're going to go, because we are running a little bit out of time,
we
but
got a
I
little
did
bit more
want to talk
time.
about your foundation.
Yep.
Now, the gentleman that passed during the first attack, his name was Mark.
Right.
You ended up with his bike and started and are part of a foundation under
How
his
old
name.
was he?
Let's
How
tell
old
us
is-
about
how old
this.
is he?
I believe at the time he was 35. What happened was through this, I became connected with his mom and dad. They live in Missouri. They started a nonprofit in his name. So essentially, they were continuing what he had done on his own. He would raise money on his own amongst mountain bikers and neighbors for kids to be able to give kids bikes who couldn't afford them. So that nonprofit is continuing in the work of what Mark had done when he was alive. So I work with them. I do the giveaways in California. They also do lots of giveaways in Missouri, but it's a really great organization, and I've encouraged mountain biking friends of mine to come out to the bike giveaways,
Good
and they're
for you.
just touched. I mean, they want to come back usually after they've done it once, so it's really fun.
Well, Ann, before you go, I know we have just a little bit of time. It would be really important for you maybe to address our audience and what you said about people feeling invisible when we overlook people. What did you take away from this experience? And how did you find joy in the midst of this?
For me, I realized a lot of it is about perspective, that it's, I have a choice where if I want to focus on what was taken from me, my looks, whatever, that's a choice I have. Either I can focus on that, or I can choose to put up a roadblock and choose to go the other direction. When I look at it, I think to myself, is there anything to be gained by me spending time worrying about something? I ask myself that question. Is there anything to be gained by me doing this? If not, move on. I wouldn't blame anyone for being mad at God, for asking why this happened, but it was just something I chose not to spend time on, because I feel as though, I was so thankful for being healthy, being alive, that I just chose to focus on those things.
And I will look
Good
at
for
people
you.
now and not see them as being invisible.
Yeah, I think that's very important, like you said, because when we're on the other side, we tend to be thinking of them, but we're looking through our eyes,
Right.
not through theirs. I think
Right.
that was a great message.
Right.
I want to thank you again for coming on the show, and thank you for your
Real honor
transparency.
meeting you, and
Thank
you are
you.
beautiful inside and out. Thank you.
And just very quickly, I want to know: you are going on a speaking circuit? So now you're speaking at different events and foundations. If somebody was interested in maybe booking you, where can they find you?
I do have a website. It's just my name, ANNEHJELLE.com, or Facebook page, my author page. You can contact me there.
Perfect.
And are you
perfect.
speaking? You're going around? People asking
I
you
do
to speak?
speak. I mean, to be honest with you, I'd much rather face another lion than speak in public. But
Really?
Wow.
I do it
Don't
anyway.
say that.
I do it anyway.
No.
Because I know
You
just
got a
from
lot to
feedback,
say.
just from feedback I get that if my story can help someone, then I will put myself out there, even though it's uncomfortable for me, and do that.
It's
you know?
helped me. I don't have bad days anymore. I really don't. When you said that, I don't have bad days.
It's all relative.
It is
you know?
really okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
No,
again for
thank
joining
you.
us here in
Oh,
Joy
Yeah,
in
you're
My
welcome.
House.
My pleasure.
And Hjelle, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Please go out and support on our Facebook page. Yeah, and feel free to call in. The studio line is always open at 323-247-7443, or you can tweet us directly on twitter.com/joyinmyhouse. I want to thank you for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, we have a great show for you lined up with KFWB sportscaster Brett Lewis, where he's going to come on and talk about his recovery. This is Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Lolita Robinson
I love
for
you guys.
co-hosting.
Love you.
And for coming on the show.
Love you, Van
Van,
Eric.
our producer. Have a great and blessed day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joy in My House.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
In the early dawn of slips away. A peaceful and humble man, he seeks his Father and prays. He is not God, so they say. He doesn't really hear. That's not so, he's just a prayer away. For those who draw near.